Well, you look the part, but let's see some of your moves.
Feeling free and it feels so right. Oh, time to do the things I like. Gonna see a princess, everything's alright. Oh, no job but an answer to. Ain't a fixture in the palace zoo. No, and since the carbonite's off me, I'm living life now that I'm free. Yeah, told me get myself together. Now I got myself together. Now I made it through the weather. Better days are gonna get better. I'm so happy the carbonite is gone. I'm moving on. I'm so happy that it's over now. The pain is gone. I'm putting on my shades to cover up my eyes. I'm jumping in my ride. I'm heading out tonight. I'm solo. I'm hot solo. I'm hot solo. I'm hot solo. Solo. Picking up my plaster, putting it on my side. I'm jumping in my Falcon, Wookie at my side. I'm solo. I'm hot solo. I'm hot solo. I'm hot solo. Solo.
Okay, I can see you have some skills, but now it's my turn.
There we go. I changed the intro a little bit.
So I was just going to say, someone has been busy. What did you think of that, John?
I put John on the throne. I put John on the throne of the first one. I changed your first picture, John.
Well, we're going to have to update that again because I've got an even better throne picture now.
Good. Well, yeah, I was just messing around. I was on a Star Wars high after the New Jersey visit from Ken. So
that was good. That was really good.
So introduce ourselves. John, you go first.
I'm John from the Best Scar Bucket.
I'm Ken from the Rambling Star Wars Fan and the forces behind Star Wars. Glad to be here.
And I am Mike from here. Right? Yeah, I'm Mike from here. So
it works.
Let's see if I can move. I was trying to move our. Won't let me move.
Is it my imagination, or has the Falcon gone on sale again?
Is it on sale again? That might change our price. I don't know.
It's now less than $9,000.
No, I think that was the price.
Oh, that was the sale price.
So, okay. Well, hang on. I got to check my price list. I got to go to my GoFundMe.
You like how I planted that seed, John?
Yeah. And according to my GoFundMe, at the time, I figured this is $8,995.
Okay. Yep. That is the sale price.
Yeah. Saying that the sale price is both odd and ashamed at the same time. But what are you gonna do?
Maybe it'll show up in Ollie's soon.
God. I wonder if they make those somewhat to order.
Well, it says something like, available in like 3 to 5 weeks or whatever.
Yeah, that's like they might have it all cut out in rolls, and then when you order it, they glue it all together or whatever they do for.
Well, if that's the case, give me like a big vinyl piece that would be the floor or the.
Yeah, I don't need a new roof. I'll just drape this big piece of vinyl over my Cooney shingles.
Or a tent. You could use it as a canopy on a tent.
Can you imagine showing up to a campground? Yes, I need a tent site, but I need electricity, and then you sleep in your Falcon the whole time. It'd be cheaper than a camper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it has been an exciting week for all of us. I think this is going to be the most story-filled episode we've had in a while.
Yeah. So let me get our captions on here. We'll start with what I think will be the least is costuming corner. Our shortest segment.
Well, mine's not really costuming, but I have the beginnings of a pit droid.
Ah, yes, and I have the beginnings that we didn't have ready for you.
Well, you guys have pit droid parts. I have now been commissioned to construct a droid of my own.
That looks good, Ken.
That looks really good.
Wait, so John, you're doing Chopper,
I'm doing live action Chopper.
live action Chopper. Okay. And did you get the Badly files?
Yep, I have all the files. Now it's just a matter of getting a printer.
Now, okay, so for someone who started Chopper, well, now we're on the same hold because my 3 days of my 11-day print went to crap. So, you could probably print it on your. They have all the files cut for yours, so you could probably start printing everything, and then by the time you get the printer, do the dome.
Right. Yeah. The problem is because I messaged Creality.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, why does it say this is in stock? You have 28 available. And then I put my address in and it says it's not available.
Oh, outside the U.S.
They don't make it anymore.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, they don't make the S5 anymore. So now it's either, because I found a few on Marketplace that are within a couple hours, or do I go for the Tronxy full cage 500 by 500 by 600 printer?
Well, I've heard good things about the full cages because you all the stuff like what went wrong with mine probably wouldn't go wrong with a full cage.
Right. However, I've never heard of Tronxy as a company, and I haven't heard anything on the forums about that printer. Everyone says they've got an S5. So.
Yeah. Well, again, if I were you, I'd start printing all the other parts. Because there's a lot of stuff. But I think then I'm gonna start the print next. I'm not going to do the giant print where it's 3/4 done. I figure I'm gonna aim small, miss small. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was just trying, but I came down this morning. I almost let it run. I was so mad. I was cursing it and was just gonna let it run and come home to a big mess because I was just so angry when I a Wednesday morning. But
yeah, unfortunately, Papa John talked to Tim O'Sullivan a little bit too much this weekend, and then it went from, oh, that's really cool, like I've never seen like a live droid in person, to, oh, you built this. Let me explain everything to you.
Dude, and Tim, his droids are just the least of what he's built.
Well, he had Chopper, R2, and then he had the I don't even know what they're called, but the droids from, you saw them in the Book of Boba Fett and in Attack of the Clones, the ones that they got the carts.
Yep.
Yeah, he had one of those
rickshaw droids.
Yeah.
But then he also has the animated Grogu.
Grogu was the one being pulled by the rickshaw droid.
And that's the one that Lucasfilm, or the company that made the real one, asked him to put it away.
Legacy Effects.
Yeah. And he also has his costumes. He has the gunner from Rogue One.
Mm-hmm. He was there too.
And he has the big furry guy.
Moff and Bistan.
Yeah, he had Moff Tag there with him.
Yeah. He has every costume is nicer than the next. So
yeah, it was. I did mention you. He did know exactly who I was talking about, so that's good.
It's funny how I think about this way too much. It's funny how all of our lives were on totally different tracks, and then they crossed, and now they're recrossing. You know, like, I don't know. I get so happy when I see your dad. Like when I see your dad in costume, because he looks like he's having such a good time, and I don't even know him that well. You know what I mean? It's just.
And he gets to float above the garbage. Like he goes, he has fun with it. He doesn't get involved in the nonsense, and then he leaves.
Yep.
Comes back, gets involved, or goes in costume, has fun, and then he leaves.
Yeah, this weekend was incredible. However, you know how you decide on a project and then you're already looking towards the next. So my job is just to print Chopper. Dad said he's going to take care of finishing and all the electronics.
Yep.
So I told him, I said, fine, I will be more than happy to start printing Chopper for you. However, if this goes to plan, we're doing one of two things next. It's either going to be R4 P17 or it's going to be BT1. Or yeah, BT1.
Wait a minute, BT1.
Like Dr. Aphra.
Oh, there you
Because
go.
I was thinking about it, I'm like, Zoe does Dr. Aphra, Safi does 000. May as well just make the family whole.
Yeah, yeah.
BT1 is beefy.
Yeah.
Well, it's. I think Marty has a BT1 dome printed.
Really?
I think so. He has a tricked out S5.
Not even surprised.
He has like the metal bed. He has the locked bed with the self leveling, blah blah blah, all that stuff. I'm just always the idiot that runs them right off of how they come out of the box.
I haven't modified a single one of my printers, except for I put the magnetic plate on my one CR10S.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. So, are you? So that's your build. Are you building any other costumes?
Costumes are on hold at the moment.
Okay. And Ken,
So-
are you working? You did some paint on yours, or is that from last week time?
That was from the weekend before. This weekend was just it wasn't a troop, but it was a visit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only other costume that is way, way, way down the line is a certain blue character for Dad.
Yes. Well,
So
okay. So that the costume, I just spent way too much money on a Patreon files from that one guy that makes all these things in one of the shows that we're not talking about. I just got all of them. I got, the only problem is I just printed the back of the one helmet. It came off, it looks nice, and I grabbed it and it felt like mush. So that means my nozzle must be either my nozzle is clogged, or I got to look at my setting in my slicer. I put the wrong nozzle size on.
yeah.
Because I've been known to put, like, I got to make sure it's not like a 0.6 on that printer, because the other one's working perfect. So
Now, is this on one of your Sobels?
yeah, my Sobel. So it's either the little tube or the nozzle.
Mm.
So what I might just do is take the whole end off of the one Sobel that doesn't work, because it's only run like maybe a quarter of a spool through it. I might just take that whole end and swap it out.
Yeah.
Like, because I need to tear that one apart, because I keep thinking I'm going to fix it. In reality, I'm not going to fix it. I'm not going to take the time.
Isn't this the one that Sobel was supposed to send you a replacement for?
They did. I got a replacement, but they never took the other one back.
Oh. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I have it, and they're just like, nah. Oh no, wait a minute. Sobel was supposed to send me a replacement. They never did. I did a PayPal gripe about it, and PayPal check. I sent them all my emails and correspondence. PayPal just give me the money back, and then I just took that money and bought a new one right straight from Sobel. So that's what it was. I forget how it went, but I have that one that I know I'm never going to get around it, because I think it's either a bent bar or something, and I might just start using. I just might start cutting it for parts.
Yeah. I mean, it's the best thing to do, because as things go bad on the other two printers, you can just swap them out.
So, well, and that printer that's printed, that's the one that printed all the Tuscan helmets and all the Boba Fett helmets last summer, and it's the one that printed my IG-11, which Ken got to see. I didn't do any costume work, so I did a little work on Sabine's pistols, but that's about it. So let's go to just our events. What do we call these events?
Troop time.
Well, me and Ken will talk first, and then you have to talk about yours, John, because yours is going to be the longest.
Yeah.
So I had the privilege of having the New Jersey people come, but due to Hurricane Nothing, it was only Ken that showed up.
Wait. What?
Only Ken showed up because they were afraid of the rain. I'm not, what I think I don't know what the weather was calling for.
Well, it was supposed to be a nor'easter.
Yeah, so I don't know.
And it was neither north or an easter.
Right.
So I made the decision to not miss an opportunity to hang out in Pennsylvania. So I drove the 2+ hours up and spent almost 9 hours just shooting the breeze, catching up with Mike. And there was two things I was realizing on my way home. Number one, I was there as long as I was, which surprised me because it
I
felt
didn't
like,
realize you were there that long either, Ken.
yeah, it literally felt like minutes. Like I feel like I walked in, said good morning, or good afternoon, because I got there around noonish, and then walked out a couple minutes later. But it was really almost 9 hours later, and I noticed that we only took a handful of pictures of all of the things.
I know. I,
No, we didn't do any videos together with it. Well, we took,
we
we
took
took a
pictures
handful of pictures,
at
and
the
you
phone booth
you
at the.
used them into, turn them into quick TikToks for me to show me how easy it is to do.
I give
Um,
him the old man TikTok lesson with CapCut. Here you go. Throw this in. Boom. I was like making videos as we were speaking.
yeah, so it was awesome, absolutely awesome. It was great hanging out and having lunch with Zoe
Yeah.
and John. You're going to be very impressed to hear that I had some vegan food.
Ooh.
You know,
Vegan for 15 minutes.
yeah, I had vegan boneless chicken wings.
And they had to put the word boneless in there.
Yeah, I didn't ask what made them boneless, and I didn't ask what made them chicken. I just ordered them and enjoyed them. They were wonderful.
Well, I've been to like there's a vegan Chinese restaurant up in Reading, and everything's vegan, but they call it like normal food. Like if you walked in, you probably wouldn't tell. Like if you got sweet, it'd say sweet and sour chicken, but it's like vegan. But they have chicken legs, and they actually have a wooden dowel in them, like that you can hold and eat.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's how they boneless. I don't know.
So, so they put a stick in the chicken to give you the sense of you're eating a chicken leg.
Well, I think so. You have something to hold on to because it's made out of seitan in the shape of a chicken leg, like in the because not to convert anyone to veganism, but I know a lot of non-vegans are. It's like, well, why do you eat like fake whatever? Which we try not to. Um, but part of it is if you grow up on comfort food. Like I like shepherd's pie. I like stew. So when I make that, a lot of times I'll either substitute mushrooms for meat, or you find something so it comforts you. Like when you were growing up. So I mean, I had black bean burgers tonight. So it's like having a burger. You douse it up like a burger, and
Well, the patty part makes sense to me, but to go to the lengths of putting a wooden skewer into a formed chunk of whatever and
oh,
calling it the
I know, I know. Well, I mean, it's just but we took him. We went to Decades, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we went to Decades, and then we took him to the comic store. Took Ken to, and then we went to
we visited Intercourse.
Intercourse. We went. Me and Ken went through Intercourse, and
I saw the phone booth.
and we took the phone booth picture with where Harrison Ford was, and we went to the ice cream shop that's mentioned in The Walking Dead.
But didn't get ice cream there.
No.
It was just a drive-by.
Yeah, it was Strasburg. It's not really much. That's really like that's probably like the highlight of that, other than the railroad. And I think they talk about the Strasburg Railroad. I think in The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I think so. It was briefly mentioned a bit,
So,
but it was just so much fun. And
yeah.
I told Heather that the next time I come up, next time we have a chance to do that, I'm going to bring her up with us. She had to stay home this weekend to do homework.
We went to the Disney store and we went to Ryobi
And the comic book shop.
and the comic book shop.
Yeah, so it was a full day, and still the 9 hours, 8.5 hours flew by.
And I filled Ken's car when he left.
I don't doubt that.
So yeah.
I didn't get in trouble for bringing the pit droid home, so
All right,
so
good.
you guys should be happy to hear that.
Good.
Well, he takes up so little space.
Well, he takes up so little space now, but once he's fully assembled, I got to figure out where he's going to be
But
displayed.
it's composable too. Get a little tiny chair, get him a little monocle.
Yeah.
Or have him hold, like the tray to hold your keys. Just glue them solid.
Put a magnet in his palm or something.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, it was absolutely awesome. I'm glad I didn't let the weather get in the way of that.
Yeah. I mean, again, I as a teacher, I don't really watch the weather unless it's snow season. Like, I'm just like, eh. So I didn't really realize how it goes. So. But yeah, and that was my weekend too. And then I'm trying to think if I did anything Sunday. On Sunday, like I said, I started printing stuff, which basically just flopped. except for the other. I'm printing other things, but and then I printed these again. Sorry, it's yellow, Ken, but it's
It's okay.
this. I don't know what infill when I printed this. This was printed years ago. I think I could knock someone out with this thing. So I'm not sure.
Is it before you realize that you don't need 45% infill on
Well,
everything?
I never went more than 20, right? I never went more than 20, so this is probably a 20. I usually go 5 to 10 now, so. But this is also on my
Yeah, I forgot to look to see if Pit Droid counts as a approvable droid builders thing.
yeah, talk to Dave Castellano. But for the droid, I still think all three of us should look at mouse droids. Like we should seriously consider mouse droids because that's like the best way to get into the droid builders. I mean, I'm in it. I didn't even build a droid. I built Sappy's costume, and that puts me in the droid builder. So if that puts me in, I can't believe that a pit droid would not put you in. Because some guys build static R2s. Like they'll build a static R2 and they just roll, or they'll build it when it drives, but they'll never drive them.
Okay.
Now, John, when you drive your chopper, are you going to use the small controllers like from PlayStation?
I don't think so because Dad wants to do one with the arms in the dome and the fold out
No, right.
arm in the chest.
All of those can be programmed into those controllers.
Really?
Yeah, because that's what Marty has all his R2s programmed in that. And then he can put his hands in his hoodie. You don't want a big. I talked to Dave Castellano about that because he does a lot of the writing of the code and he built a chopper too. I mean, he's no Tim Sullivan by any means, but if you just need another person to talk to.
Evidently, he and I are already friends on Facebook. Okay.
Yeah, he's the head of the Mid-Atlantic Droid Builders.
That makes sense considering I'm in the group.
I mean, technically, the Droid Builders don't have a leader. They don't have forums, and they don't really have like
They're like the Borg. You just become assimilated.
Kind of. No, I mean it's like they are in the purest form like a fan group with no leaders. You know, like it's weird, and they seem to function just as well as the rest of the groups. So. All right, John.
Take it away, kiddo.
Well, it was a very, very long and rewarding weekend, if I do say so myself. So Dad and I trekked down to Cincinnati on Friday morning. We got down there probably about 3 o'clock as the doors were opening. Had a very tough time getting through security, which that was fun. So we got parked. We got our bins out. You know, we're walking to the convention center. We go in through, you know, everyone in our group chat was like, go in the main doors. Like, they're not letting us go in through the vendor doors. So we get there and we have to go up the handicap ramp, which kind of bypasses like the bag check, because none of us are lifting our totes up of 2 flights of stairs. And so then we get to the entrance and they're like, oh, you guys are here with the Star Wars people? You guys have to go through the vendor entrance. It's like, okay. So we get to the vendor entrance and they're like, yeah, you guys aren't supposed to be coming in through here. I'm like, well, you need to talk with whoever's working at the front. And they're like, oh, we'll check you in this time. So they make us open up all our bins, root through all of our stuff. And it's like, okay, I get that. You know, we're coming in with crates of things. And they're like, do you guys have any weapons? Or even like prop weapons? And all of us go, yeah, we do. And I had my guitar case on my back. And I'm the only one who didn't pipe up. I was like, you know, I mean, technically, I guess. And I'm the first one she's like, oh, I need to check your bag anyway. So I sling it off my back, open it up. She's like, immediately, you have to go take that through weapons check. I'm like, my lightsaber? Yeah.
It might be a real one.
Oh, God forbid. I'm like, okay. And then she looks through my dad's bin, who his blaster is sitting in the holster, kind of on top, doesn't say anything. It's like, okay, cool. And then
like a Luger.
Right. So then She gets Cameron's bag, sees his blasters, like, you got to go get that checked as well. And so they're like, we're going to get someone to take you guys over to get your wristbands, to get your weapons checked, all that. And they're like, okay, cool. 10, 15 minutes later, we're like, okay, where are we going? Literally, we could have walked through the curtain ourselves, gotten our wristbands, then made a left 2 weapons check, and gone on our way. But instead, they had us go through this whole rigmarole. So I'm sitting there like, oh God, this better not be the tone for the weekend. And so then we finally get through, and weapons check, by the way, laughed at me. When I'm standing there with a lightsaber in hand, I'm like, hey, I was told I have to get this checked. Because it was Cincinnati PD. It wasn't like a con.
Right.
And he's like, seriously? I'm like, look, man, talk to whoever's running this. So he holds it for a sec, and he's like, whatever. And he puts the wristband over it and sends us on our way. So we get in, and we get all set up, and Dad's like, okay, well, I'm going to put my costume on. I'm like, you don't even want to walk the floor first? He's like, I've been thinking about it, because he wasn't going to do it. And after like days and days of like talking to him, I'm like, you need to do it. So he's like, I think I'm just going to go meet Julian Glover, the actor who plays General Veers. So I'm like, well, I'm glad you finally listened to me. I wish you would have told me that. I'm like, that's why I didn't schedule us to do any volunteer shifts tomorrow, Saturday. So like, if you wanted to meet him, he's like, well, there's nobody here right now, so it'd be the best time to do it. And I said, okay. So he gets dressed up. I get my stuff on, and we walk over to his booth. And Julian Glover was so much funnier than I thought he was going to be. Because we walked up like hat in hand, like, oh, please, we'd be honored, sir. Like, well, it's super nice to meet you. And, Dad, he sees autographing a picture for $100. So Dad pulls out $100. He's like, I'd really appreciate it, like, if I can get your autograph. And he said, absolutely. What do you want me to sign? You want a picture, or do you want like an 8x10, or do you want me to sign something of yours? He's like, well, I'd be honored if you'd sign the inside of my chest plate. And he immediately snaps back and goes, look, I'll sign your ass if you want me to. I was like, oh, God.
It's going to be that kind of party.
Yeah, so then, we just start, he signs it. I tell my dad, I'm like, don't you dare put that back on. And he's like, well, we haven't taken the picture yet. So I'm like, okay, well, thank God there's nobody behind us.
Smear.
So, I give it the old edge of the finger test to make sure it's dry enough for him to just slip on real fast to take the picture. So we take the picture, and, while they're getting everything set up, he's asking us, like, oh, are you guys, like, part of, like, the like, real Star Wars group? And I'm like, yeah, we're part of the 501st, like, we do XYZ, and it, like, gave him the whole rundown. He's like, I think that's really great what you guys do, blah, blah, blah. Get the picture. We both thank him. And he was shocked that I didn't want to be in the picture. I'm like, nah, this is his thing.
Yeah.
So we get the picture, and Dad has a smile from ear to ear. And I told him, like, this is also kind of why I didn't want to do this today, because now you can't wear Veers. Like, you have to go take the armor off. He's like, I know. I didn't think about it, but it was worth it. It was nice to have that, like, quick 10-minute interaction with him. So Dad got one picture in Veers, and that was it. He just wore the officer garb for the rest of the day.
Now, do you have a bust up to hang the armor on?
It's hanging on the lid of his kit box right now.
Okay, because I will have to see what it costs to mail one. I don't know if it's worth mailing one, but I have an extra one.
That wouldn't be a terrible idea, because I need to figure out something to stand his armor up.
Ken, do you have that one I give you?
Yeah, it's in my passenger seat.
It's just the shoulders. There's nothing. I think it's just the shoulders and a pipe.
Well, it's a pipe, shoulders, and a smidgen of the neck.
Yeah. So if your dad wants a display, you could probably paint it like a black or something to match, and just.
Or throw the tunic over top.
Yeah. So we'll have to see if I don't know what one costs, because you could probably make one. You don't want to send something that the shipping costs more than what you could,
Right.
But if we get together, and anytime soon, I have it. So
right. Yeah, so I genuinely thought that was going to be the highlight of the weekend. However, as 24 hours later would devolve, that would not be the case. So the rest of Friday, like we're in costume, taking pictures, him hawing about, just having fun. And then, that was really it for Friday. We didn't do a whole lot. We just kind of relaxed, went back to the hotel, ate dinner, and that was it. And then Saturday, we ended up getting there. Dad immediately got into Krennic, started taking pictures. I stayed in just regular clothes, a racing shirt for a while. But we walked in. When we walked in, same deal with the vendor entrance. They sent us to the vendor entrance. Vendor entrance trying to send us back. We're like, no. But Dad and I walked around the con floor for a little bit, and we got these cool little guys. Let's see if I can. Yeah, it's just like a Kenner card style backing with a minifigure in it. But I got Unmasked Kylo Ren and a C-3PO, which this 3PO is actually chromed. I don't know if you can tell on camera.
Yeah. That's cool.
And then Dad got General Veers.
Nice.
So those were the first pickups from the weekend, and then we did the whole costuming thing. We had an Imperial March on Saturday, where we got as many people as we could together, and we marched through the whole convention with Chopper leading the way, playing the Imperial March.
Nice.
And then after that, I immediately kitted down, because I went from Last Jedi Kylo in the morning to Force Awakens Kylo for the March, and then immediately kitted down and got to do the Narkina 5 prisoner run.
Nice.
So that was really cool. We got a lot of great pictures of all of us in that. However, I was this close to just braving it and going completely barefoot.
Oh, yeah.
I was the only one who didn't come prepared with like sandals or other footwear. And then Brian, our squad leader for Burning River, was like, not a good idea. Don't go barefoot. I'm like, well, I don't have any other options, and I'm not wearing shoes. So, and he was like, well, I've got these like stick-on foot pads. He's like, I have an extra set if you want it. I was,
okay.
And then he lifts up his foot because he was wearing the prisoner costume already, and he's like, yeah, and it was filthy. I'm like, yep, gimme.
Yeah.
So, but I was the only one who actually went like true barefoot for it. Not true barefoot, close enough.
Yeah, that's cool.
So then the 8 or 9 of us come back, and we're all just exhausted because I don't think any of us really realized how long the route was, and we're all like trotting.
And you've been trooping for 2 days too.
Right. So we get back, and I'm winded. And I sit down on my kit box, and one of our Apollo base members, one of his kids, snapped a really great picture of it, of me just sitting on my kit box, just wheezing. And it's actually one of my favorite pictures from the weekend, just because it's so candid. But yeah, so then I get dressed back in my normal clothes. It's like 3 or 4 o'clock by this point, and we're doing our swag trade. So we're swapping coins and patches and whatnot. I actually got a really cool patch. It's the medallion from A New Hope.
Oh, okay.
But the top is like the bar on top is the 4-star Chicago flag, and it says Chicago Celebration Crew at the bottom.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Super cool patch. I'll have to send you guys a picture of it. But then one of my friends comes in and is like, hey, I don't care what you're trading. I don't care how rare it is. You need to go out front. And I'm like, why do we need to go out front? And they're like, James Arnold Taylor's out front. And I'm like, hold on. Like James Arnold Taylor, like Obi-Wan? And they're like, yeah, he wants to get a group picture with everyone. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So we get out there, and he's just like chatting with all of us. Like not like what you'd think like a celebrity like conversation would be. Like just like, oh yeah, how's your guys' convention so far? Like You know, what you guys do is so cool. And he's like super inquisitive and just like talking to everybody. So then we snapped the picture, and I think all of us were just kind of like, that just happened.
Nice.
So yeah, so that was the con for the weekend. Pretty much everything else was just like walking around. I got one of the few things from my childhood that I never got, which was Obi-Wan's Starfighter from Utapau from Revenge of the Sith, the
nice.
blue and white one.
I was glad you didn't say a hug or something. I was going to be.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. So that I was, after a lot of haggling, basically got it for free, considering.
Nice.
Because dad was also looking at things that he wanted. The guy we ended up getting Vader's TIE Advanced, the Power of the Force Vader's TIE Advanced, Rey's Speeder, which we don't have one loose, which surprises me. And then the Jedi Interceptor.
Nice.
And the guy wanted 30 for the TIE Advanced and the Interceptor, and 20 for Rey's Speeder. And after a little bit of haggling, we got it all for 50. So 80 to 50 essentially got mine for free.
Did you see any loose 6-inch figures? Because the last convention I went to, I've started to see loose Black Series 6-inch figures now.
Not a whole lot. It was a lot of 3 3/4 though.
Okay.
Granted, to be honest with you, I didn't really walk the convention floor all that much. I was more worried about being at the tables and being in our area and getting pictures.
You know what we should have done though? We should have done a more extensive interview with you, John, before you joined the 501st.
Right?
Like, because I'm thinking, like, when I first met you, I don't think you would have realized how easy it was to be where you are now. Like, you've been on stage at Celebration. You're you know what I mean? Like, just think of, and your dad's doing it with you. Like I wish we would have taken time and just done a show. Like, John, what do you think is going to happen in the next 2 years? Or
yeah, it's really weird to think about, because you know, when we got home on Sunday, like I sat down and had time to process like the whole weekend. It was one of those things where it's like, oh my god, 2 years ago I really wasn't doing any of this. Like, I did like the like small costume stuff on the side, but like never to the point where like it's enveloped my whole life at this point. So
we're sorry.
Yeah, you should be.
Yeah, sorry, not sorry, really. Well, one of the things I think is wonderful about listening to your stories is all of these things that you have done and probably will do. There's a genuine sense of appreciation for it. It's not as if you walk into these things acting entitled, like, oh, because I'm in the 501st, I should be able to meet this person and they should take a picture with me for free, or so and so should spend time at booth talking to me, because like, you literally go with the flow and accept whatever comes across your path, and are thankful for every bit of it, including those tiny moments of just spending time with your dad.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. I think the famous people recognize, especially when they go to a con, and the group is like what it sounds like John's group. They were just happy to be there and be involved, and that seems to be the groups of people that get treated the best. So
yeah, and I know James Arnold Taylor actually ended up taking more pictures on Sunday with a couple other members as well.
Yeah.
So
now you have to tell your dad, and I don't know, I have no inside information, so this is just me. But if Weird Al ever does another concert run, if your dad wants to be on stage, he has to have a face-covered costume. Like, you could probably get on with Kylo in the helmet, but he would not be able to get on with. He's going to have to do a white armored or a face. White armor is better because they like to pair them out. He's going to have to He's going to have to think about that.
Oh, trust me, I think Dad, him spending so much time at these conventions and not like, because like that's been the bulk of his troops so far, because those are the easiest for him to attend, because
right.
a lot of them extend to his days off.
Right.
He sees a lot of costumes as opposed to like your standard, like you got your Tuskens, your Jawas, your Stormtroopers.
Yeah.
where you're at conventions, you'll see a lot more like the eclectic stuff. So now he's talking about how he doesn't know what he wants to do, whether it's, because he's been talking about doing a stormtrooper since he joined.
650 on Dianovos.
I know. He doesn't want to put it together though. I don't know why. I think he doesn't think he has time, but if he's gonna have time to put Chopper together.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if he thinks
Yeah.
Chopper's gonna be any easier than a TK kid, I think,
I don't know. He's an odd duck sometimes.
if he likes the biker scout, I would say that's if you want to do a white armor, like if he likes the biker scout, that's probably less daunting, since you guys have done soft parts before.
Right.
That's less daunting than the TK.
Yeah, well, get this. So we had a Commander Wolf and a Captain Vaughn. And his first comment was, God, you should really do a clone. Followed up with, I should do a clone.
He could do one of the clones that has the good hair.
Mm-hmm.
Like with I forget. Well, he could do a wolf.
He could do Cody.
Yeah.
He's got that perfect high and tight, add a scar, and that's all you got to do.
I can only help with Phase 1 helmets. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. I've got the Phase 2 covered.
Okay.
Phase 2 that's my realm.
In that bundle, I got the new Rex armor too.
I hate it.
I don't.
We haven't even got a chance to talk about it, and I hate it.
I don't know clones well enough to know the difference. I know my favorite is Phase 1 because I saw so much of that when Zoe was little, watching Wars. The Phase 1 animated is my favorite. So.
Well, I mean, my least favorite movie of all time, Revenge of the Sith, is the birth of the Phase 2 clones. So that's why that's what I'm naturally drawn to.
I think I'm just prejudiced against skinny people because I'll never fit in those live action clone art. That stuff looks so uncomfortable.
Well, I mean, with Kenobi, I'm shocked we haven't gotten a new CRL with Kenobi yet.
Yeah,
because that's different armor. It's not completely different because obviously it still looks the part, but it is not what the current CRLs are based off of.
Yeah.
I think we just got so overwhelmed by all of the stuff that it's going to take a while for some of these CRLs to come out.
Yeah. Well,
I can only imagine what they were going through after watching, a couple of the recent episodes. Like,
they're just like CRLs. Well, Justin's not worried about it because he's on the Star Cruiser right now.
Right. Well, Black Crusader finally just got his CRL 18 months later, so.
Which, if we really think about it, is 18 months really that long, considering what it is?
No.
You know what I mean?
No, I'm actually kind of shocked it was not longer.
Well, I also think the skill level, it all depends on who gets the photos. Get someone who just gets that drive to get a costume done. Because that's how Kylo was. When Kylo first came out, man, they were banging out CRLs. I couldn't believe how quick those things were coming out. So, and they were coming out, and then they were like, oh, wait a minute, it's not that cloth. Oh, it's, you know what I mean? They kept changing the CRL.
Yeah.
So,
it was a great weekend, though. And, to cap that off with something that nobody but probably me and my dad listening to this care about, but the drive from Cincinnati to Cleveland, follow that up with a great Cleveland Browns win.
there you go.
Just a perfect way to cap the weekend.
Yeah, now you got to start reaching out to those and you have to get your own panel out in Ohio now. And one of those cons.
So actually, I did apply for GalaxyCon in December, which, again, Dad going to all these things now is such a blessing and a curse because, I was like, do I want to go to Steel City or do I want to go to GalaxyCon this year?
Yeah.
And then going to CCE, it went from, do I want to go to GalaxyCon or do I want to go to Steel City to, okay, we're going to GalaxyCon. Because everyone was like, oh, you got to go to GalaxyCon. And, him just having all of these exchanges with people in the Ohio Garrison, again, double-edged sword. Where it's like, cool, I get to do all this with my dad. But wait a minute. A lot of these decisions are being made for me now.
Hey, that's not too bad either. Saves you on gas.
Monies.
Yeah, I was gonna say when my kids go with me, they're not paying much. So
right. Yeah, great weekend though. I'm when we left dinner on Saturday night because we went to a great German restaurant. When we left, because we left early because it was like, look,
Yeah.
we got to be up at 6 a.m. to make this drive. So we left early, and we were walking out. I'm like, God, I'm actually kind of sad that it's over. I'm like, I kind of wish we would have stayed for Sunday. So
Well, that's a good troop. I miss the when I years ago it seemed like we trooped. Everyone went to the after eats.
mhm.
Like we would have a big group and everyone went, and it just seems like in our garrison it kind of just that kind of stopped. You know.
Yeah, it depends on the troop, but for the most part, we still do the post troop meal.
Yeah.
This one we had to call the restaurant beforehand because we called them. We're like, hey, we know you guys don't take reservations, and it's Saturday night. There's a Reds game going on. People are probably gonna be there to watch college football too. We've got a group of about 30 to 40 nerds who just want to come in, eat a ton of food and drink. So we're willing to wait. Whatever. I think the wait ended up being like 45 to an hour,
Yeah.
which was actually really good thinking about it.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, just be warned that this is coming. So the restaurant was busy anyway. So I don't think us being 40 some people was
Right.
any like serious detriment to them.
Right.
Plus they split us up by 12s.
Oh, okay.
So it was I think it worked out for them pretty well.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get to a Mando armor party. I think here soon. If I don't have one on my own.
Well, in November we've got the Life Day celebration. So
Yeah.
that's always fun. And this year, instead of it being Armor Party and Life Day, it's just going to be just Life Day.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I gotta look. I will say with the strike ending though, John did call October.
I did it.
Now it's not, like I said, it's not completely over yet, but John did call October. So. Yeah, that's with me. I don't know what that means for Zoe and moving and all that. So that kind of throws my end of the year in a little bit of a weird mix. So, but that's cool, John. I was so happy for that and your dad. I am curious what your mom thinks of the whole ordeal, though.
I think she's just happy that we're happy. I don't think she cares anywhere past that.
That's good. And one of these days she'll come and say, "I'd like to do," and then Princess Leia or something, or
oh my, hell would
Mon Mothma.
freeze over. My mom has never seen a Star Wars movie,
well,
or at least never paid attention. I'm sure she's been in the room while we're watching it.
yeah,
I know she's watched the last couple episodes of that show.
yeah.
That while Dad and I are watching it.
Well, I will tell you, in all the years I've been in, I think the worst thing I've ever seen is when a boyfriend or husband or wife kind of force their spouse into doing it. That's the quickest way to have it all end pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Which part, the relationship or the trooping?
I don't know about the relationship, but that usually ends the trooping pretty quick, because trooping in and of itself, it's not hard in the scope of like breaking rocks for a living or anything like that. But it is, every time you troop, it is exerting to a certain point. And if you don't want to be there, I can't imagine, what it's like.
Well, I've witnessed some troops where the one member of the party will come and troop, the other person will come on their coattails just to get the ticket into the event, and
Yeah.
then they're like, "Oh, I don't even like Star Wars. I'm gonna go over and do that thing."
Well, and that's the stuff that hurts people. Like, because when we first started trooping, when I started trooping, I trooped for I probably trooped 6 months. Yeah, 6 or 7 months before the girls did it. And I just went by myself. I just, I had a big tote, but I didn't have the wheels, so I had to carry my tote. So when you say carry up 2 flights of stuff, I remember carrying my TK 3 blocks in Philly and then up the flight of stairs because, but Missy didn't come or anything. And then when the girls showed some interest in it, because they live streamed a Make-A-Wish for, I think it was my first or second troop, and they live streamed it. This was pre YouTube, like you had to send out the link. This was in 07. And and the girls watched it and stuff, and they kind of got interested. So I started working on their Jawa costumes, and then Missy came, and Missy was just happy because it was a family thing. But I think if I would have pushed her to troop, then she would have probably not done it as long. And then once the girls got a little older, she trooped a couple times where they wound up pawning all the kids off on my wife, and so Missy didn't mind when the kids were like good kids, but some of the kids were brats. And Missy's like, I don't want to babysit other people's kids because they think they're my kids. Because the one kid we did a special needs troop one time, Special Olympics, and the one parents had their kid dressed as a Jawa. The kid was hitting the special needs kids, but they left her with my wife. My wife's like, I'm taking the girls because I can't. I don't want to think that's our kids,
Right. That's definitely a not my circus, not my monkeys situation.
Yeah, but it is nice. But like I said, I've seen, like what Ken said, I've also seen where people use it to get people in, which is that's just not nice. Because I was kind of happy when we started to have to pay at Steel City and stuff, because then I just pay and then do what I want. But Steel City, if I can't get a hotel there, I'm a hotel snob at Steel City. I got to be right there. And you can't.
Looking at the time, we got to make sure we have room for John's reading Rainbow.
Oh yeah. So we're getting. So that's our wrap up with that. So let's get to our book reading. John,
now that we've converted this guy into a reader,
you finished Ahsoka.
I did. The book,
Ahsoka. Oh, you know what the sad part about that book is? Was it E.K. Johnson? She got paid a flat fee for that book.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Because it really was a good book. I'm not going to lie. However, I will up front, I will come clean. The last 10 or 11 chapters, I did listen to it on 1.5 speed.
Right.
I know that was the one thing you guys told me not to do. So the funny thing is it started because I had gotten to work on Tuesday, yesterday actually. God, I read 10 chapters today and yesterday. Anyway, and I was almost to the end of a chapter, but had to go into work. I'm like, well, I don't want to not finish the chapter, so I turned the speed up to 1.5. And then I realized it was much easier to comprehend at 1.5 speed, because evidently that's just how fast my brain works.
There you go.
But yeah,
it's your story. Tell it any way you want.
Now, what did you think about the whole people saying it was messed? They redid it when they did that cartoon.
So that funny you mention it, because as soon as I finished it this morning, I went and I watched that episode of Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And coming right off the heels of the book, I do see the gripes of, how different it was, but I actually much prefer how it was told in the book.
Yeah, okay.
Because
but it didn't wreck the book, and it didn't wreck the if you didn't see one or the other, you still got the gist of the story.
Yeah. It was completely different in two tellings of the events.
Yeah.
But separate from each other, they're both solid. So.
Yeah. Well, and I also I like the book's ending, but now that I have the visual, I like how I put that picture of the cartoon in the book ending. I just like the looks of that Inquisitor.
Yeah, that was the one thing that I didn't like. I didn't like how they depicted the Inquisitor in the book, because it felt very, I don't want to say bland, but in comparison to the Inquisitor in Tales of the Jedi, I was like, okay, well, your entire description is now a moot point. This is how I'm going to picture this.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I thought definitely the backstory of everything on Raeda was... So what I first listened last week, I listened to the first half. This week, I listened to the last half, and I was not really connected to any of these characters in the first half of the book. But then, as soon as Ahsoka leaves Raida, I was like, okay, now I'm hooked. Now we're in. Let's go. And the other thing I will say is I much prefer how Ahsoka got connected with Bail Organa in the book rather than in Tales of the Jedi.
Oh, okay.
Just because it felt more natural in the book.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a Jedi sighting, and Bail's got all of these like secret documents. I like that a lot better if I had to pick one.
Yeah.
I like them both because I think also Padme's funeral, that was a great place for those two to meet up.
Yeah.
But I liked the like glimmer of hope that Bail got when he found out Ahsoka was alive.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. But overall, like I said, and none of us are the demographic of that book.
I don't, after reading it, like I don't think there is a demographic for it. I understand like it's more geared towards like teenage girls,
Right.
but I think it's suitable for everybody.
Oh, right. Well, honestly, the Padme books, I think, are just as good. And especially if someone is not a big prequels fan, I think the Padme books will do for Phantom Menace what the Clone Wars did for the other two movies. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Ken?
Oh goodness, yeah. And I think with especially now that it's under one house, it's under the House of the Mouse. There is a more dedicated and concentrated effort in terms of what they fill in those spaces between the movies, between the shows with being so connected and expansive if you can do both things at once.
Yeah.
I think because of that attention, they're much more robust, they're much more complete, and it gives you different vantage points to see these characters from and more detail than you would have gotten in just the 2-hour movies.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
I also think the other media of Star Wars is considered as important as the movies and the television.
Well, now it is, yeah.
That's what I mean. So I think they
Yeah.
put a little more. Again, not knocking any of the earlier books, but I still stand by the worst book of the new stuff is better than the best book of the old stuff.
I wouldn't go that far. And the only reason I say this is the old stuff can be just as fun and creative and interesting. One of the things I really appreciate about the books is it gives more people an entryway into Star Wars.
That's true.
I know we're at a place now where, if you have access to a smartphone, you have the potential to have access to Disney Plus and be able to watch these things. However, not everybody wants to be, watching something all of the time. So
Right.
whether it's the comic books where you get the benefit of the visual and the literary, or the folks who, just like to sit down from time to time and read ink on a page, everybody gets an opportunity to step into this galaxy. And now with some of the stuff, especially the High Republic stuff,
Yeah.
it exists without the visuals so much, without the moving pictures.
Yep.
Yes, you have the comic books that support it, but it's still mostly a literary medium, and it's very interesting to see that Disney has put so much time into all of these different places in which people can get into Star Wars. Even that animated show, Young Jedi Adventures.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, that's designed for, I would say, toddlers to tweens.
Yeah.
Not necessarily someone of our age. And I'll still watch it
Yeah.
from time to time. I haven't watched it as completely as other stuff, but gives everybody. I think these things give everybody a place to come into Star Wars and find their place in Star Wars.
Well, and I know I always knock the Legends books, but I think Lucasfilm and Disney did an awesome thing by making them legends. So they actually made them more canon than what they were
Yes.
before they took over. You know?
Especially with the attention now, where they'll pull in pieces from it,
Yeah.
even if it's just a visual element, like the crystal skull that was in the Solo film, or the Calrissian Chronicles
You
and
know what's
things like that.
weird though is they haven't. If someone would have said to us, if we were podcasting when Disney took over, and they would have said, "Pick the 10 things they're going to pull from the old books," I don't think we would have picked any of them.
Not well. I think we may have picked one of them,
Yeah.
and I think it would be the big one,
Which one?
but the blue guy.
Yeah, okay, but maybe but I would have probably picked I'm not saying I like these characters, but I would have probably picked Mara Jade as one. I would have figured that would have been definitely. I would have picked Clone Luke.
Luke.
Luke, you know, the shadows of the whole shadows of the Empire. You know,
Maybe. I mean, like Dash
if
Rendar and stuff
if
like that.
they said make a list, that would have been my
Yeah.
list. That
Yeah.
was it the Tuscan Jedi, whatever that guy's name is.
Harsharad.
Doesn't make any sense to me, but yeah,
No, that was a place. What was that? I don't remember the Tuscan
I
Jedi's
don't know.
name.
But I forget his. We have someone. There's one costume of that has gone around to about 6 guys in our garrison.
Sharad Het.
Every
That's whose name.
About every year, I think someone wears it, and then they realize this is way too hot, way too uncomfortable, and then you'll see it for sale on the boards, and someone else will buy it. So that costume is probably been at least a half a dozen people in the last. I don't know.
I got to figure out who's selling it then, because that's a costume I would want.
Yeah, I don't know who has it now. I'm trying. I don't know. I think you know who has it. I think Mr. Bickle has it.
Oh, he can keep it.
No, I mean, but I think that's where it's going.
It's probably got so much bad mojo in the seams. I don't need that in my
It's
life.
in the middle of the state right now. Well, no, that's Star Killer. It's in Star Killer now. It's out of our.
So it's making its way towards my territory.
Well, no, all I remember is holding the mask one time, and it was a beautifully made mask, but it was heavy. It was heavier than my Vader bucket.
Ooh.
It had all metal parts on the front, and then it had a counterweight in the back, so the face didn't come off your head. So
Yeah.
and I think it was rubber inside or latex, so it was heavy metal rubber wrapped in cloth with that nice sealing of latex around your head.
So that was just a hot box on your head.
Yeah. So
yeah. I will say this as one parting thought on the Ahsoka book. As someone who occasionally will read the book with the audiobook in the background, there was only one discrepancy that I came across.
Yeah.
In the second to last chapter, when Ahsoka is assembling her lightsabers, she said something along the lines of like, they don't resemble my previous lightsabers, blah blah blah. The audiobook says green, but the book says blue. And I was like, wait a minute. Which crystal are you referring to? So
I wonder if that was a misspeak that was missed, or if the script was changed.
Right.
You got a variant. Typical Star Wars fashion.
You've been hanging around Ken, noticing that kind of stuff.
Well, it helps when you're listening and reading at the same time.
See, I can't do that. I can listen when I drive and read when I'm not. I tried listening to the podcast at work, and I just can't. I was going to put them on while I graded papers, and I was like, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I tried to read while driving, and that doesn't go well either.
No, they frown upon that. I just stick to texting and watching YouTube while driving.
As you should.
No, I think I have something on my phone or something that every time I try to change the stupid map, and it's like, this feature is not working while car is moving or something like that. If I'm in Missy's car. So my car doesn't care what you're doing. But
another great episode, gentlemen.
Yeah. Let me. I didn't make a new outro, so we had one person said hey, and then they left. So again, I don't know if anyone's watching, but before we leave, don't forget we are trying to raise enough money to buy an inflatable Falcon. If I did my math right, right now we have $0 donated.
That's some easy math right there.
Yeah, I haven't done my gazintas yet, but I got to see what goes into something. But So we have 0 raised, but if you have extra money after giving to real charities and you want to throw some money our way, we can. And if we start actually getting some money, maybe we'll think of figuring out a way to thank you as we build this inflatable Falcon. You can find this podcast, which I don't know why you'd have to find it if you're listening now, but you can find it anywhere you find podcasts. You can find John, the Best Guard Bucket, anywhere you can find podcasts. And he's also a alumni of speaking at Star Wars Celebration, which would be a good Saturday classic for your podcast if you want to keep your feed alive, John. Just throw that up there.
That's true, but that's also the last episode on my feed, so it just kind of be recycled.
No, why not? Keep that feed alive.
That's true. Well, I think here in a couple weeks, the feed will be reborn.
Awesome.
So.
And then Ken, we can find him on the Rambling Star Wars Fan.
And occasionally the forces behind Star Wars.
The forces behind Star Wars. And here.
You can find all of us here.
Don't forget Star Wars Geek Girls.
Star Wars Geek Girl. They're still on hiatus due to the strike, but I've been bugging Zoe. I got a couple authors possibly lined up if that ever happens, and if Zoe stops working like a ridiculous amount of hours. Ken got to see her because of the rain.
So the storm brought me in and Zoe together.
And Zoe, yes, they were both here, and I think Safi was at the Renaissance Fair, so she, I guess they still had a Renaissance Fair in the rain. So let me end this, and then we will go from there. If I can, whoops, wrong one. There it is.
Starships, but then my Falcon's hyperdrive just slipped. I used to worry about the future, but then I threw my caution to the wind. I had no reason to be carefree, no, until I took a trip to the treetop side of town. Yeah. You know, I heard that wicked rhythm. Hey, I had no choice but to get down.